Absolute Wealth. Real investors, real results.
Hi everybody, this is James R. Gorey, Managing Editor at Absolute Wealth, here with the good, the bad, and the gory, where I look at a piece of good news, a piece of bad news, and I'll tell you why or what I think about them. Okay, first the good news. Mortgage rates are at an all-time low. Hard to believe, but they're even lower than they were last year, last month even. So that means on a 30-year fixed, they're around 3%. 15-year fixed, even lower, in the 2s. So that's great news. Now, here's my take on that. It's very difficult right now to get loans, although that's opening up a little bit. So there is some good positive news there. But the fact that interest rates are so low and we're not seeing the really big rise in home purchases, in fact, they're kind of flat and even falling depending on where you are. And it varies from region to region. We're not seeing the explosion in the housing market and the big bump that we ought to get. So good news, yes. Is it great news or is it having a great effect? Not really. Let's look at some bad news. There's plenty out there. But let's look at one in particular, and that is the dollar exclusion zones that the Chinese are setting up around the world. Let's give some specific examples. Japan, Russia, Brazil, Brazil and Chile. Those areas China's doing bilateral relationships with. What's that mean? It means they're setting up trade excluding the dollar. Not only is China saying, look, we'll trade with you and not use the dollar, we'll just use our own currencies back and forth, but the dollar is actually explicitly excluded from the transaction. Now, why is that a big deal? Why is that bad news? It's bad news because, in my opinion, China is working to exclude the dollar or push the dollar out of the international system as much as it can, make it undesirable. What does that do for China? It moves China right into our place. It allows them to step up and say, hey, use the yuan as a reserve currency. It's much more valuable, much more stable, and it's backed by a better economy with much less debt than the US dollar. So, is that a good thing? I don't think so. It's going on. I haven't heard anybody address it in terms of how do we respond to it, but that's where it is today. So we got good news, the mortgage rates are really low. Bad news, the dollar abroad is getting its butt kicked, and we're not doing a heck of a lot about it. All right, so there it is, the good, the bad, and the gory. This is James R. Gorey, Managing Editor at Absolute Wealth. Tell me what you think on our YouTube channel, Facebook, or Twitter, and we'll get back to you. All right, take care.
Nom 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 nom. I need that.